I'm sorry. Did I make you tear up there? That's right, we are talking about creating emotional sounding chord progressions today. And I feel like this is becoming a common trend with all my lessons that I say, this is subjective. What emotional is to me may not be what you consider emotional. Maybe you're a soulless demon who is not moved by anything. In which case, rock on. But I'm going to generally speak in terms of what I consider most people would think is moving music. And I'm going to go through a few different facets of a little bit of what I just played there and some other tips that you could integrate into your own guitar playing. After all, what I love to do with all these lessons is not show you things that you can literally learn verbatim. What's more important to me is that you take what I show you and figure out how to put it into your own guitar playing, because we are all our own guitar players. We should be unique in our creation. So without further ado, let's get into a couple of emotional chord progression creation tips. So the first thing I think is the tempo. Now, I was playing at a tempo that wasn't necessarily defined by a metronome. I think a lot of music that you record is usually going to be to some kind of tempo just because it's easier to integrate with other instruments that way. But if you're just playing by yourself, you don't have to have an exact pulse. It's actually better to be more human with it, which I think is more emotional, more real, than to be very rigid in your timing. So with the chord progression that I'm playing here, it's just a C major to D major to E minor. And these are spread voiced triads. If you don't know what those are, my course Guitar Super System, which is linked in the description, will tell you about spread voiced triads. So essentially what I am doing here is just playing this nice little diatonic progression. But I'm not playing it I'm treating it much more gentle than that, which I think is a very important key to convey your mood, is to be gentle if you're trying to be cinematic with your guitar playing. So something like this. As you could feel, I think that is still in some kind of tempo that makes sense. It's not completely off the wall, but it also wasn't confined to 1, 2, 3, 4. It was just kind of what I was feeling. I was trying to sway back and forth and really get in touch with the instrument. So I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but that's the way I was thinking about it. So I think that is a very important first step, is to establish the mood with whatever chords you choose through the tempo and the feel of the chords. And you can do that. I was using my fingers. I think it's much more natural to convey that kind of organic cinematic sound on the guitar with your fingers, just because, as you could hear, I have access to a lot more notes, individually plucking certain notes, than I would with a pick. So if you want to use your fingers, give it a try. Now the next step is actually choosing the chords themselves. Again, this is a very basic chord progression. It's just 4, 5, 6 in the key of G major. So if you don't know anything about the different chords of the major scale, then again, my course Guitar Super System will give you the information you need. It's linked in the description. But this is super basic. I think the key to emotional music is, no pun intended by the way, the key, all right, I'm just gonna let that one go. Having a minor tonality. So even though I have some major chords in here, two in fact, I'm ending on this minor tonality. So the resolution indicates something that is sad, minor, sad. Again, subjective, I know, but generally minor tonalities are more emotionally gripping. So establishing that tonality is a very effective way to say, hey, this is going to be moving. I'm trying to be expressive and moving with the music that I'm making. So that's kind of a sidebar to the first point, is choosing the chords that will convey the most meaning to the listener. So another step to these emotional chord progressions is having little bridges, little fills to connect the dots and make it even more sultry, more kind of fluid sounding. So I have the chord progression here. And then in between, like I said, I'm giving myself a lot of time. I'm not necessarily leaning on a certain tempo. I can find little fills. And I'm just drawing from the G major scale. So learning the modes of the major scale will be really helpful for you to kind of pair with your chords that you're creating. So we just have this 4, 5, 6. Maybe I'll draw out of this Lydian tonality. And I'm using that phrase tonality lightly. The actual chords would suggest an Aeolian, E Aeolian to be exact, tonality. But I don't have to be limited to this position. So to recap so far, we want to choose a rhythm that is very kind of airy and spacious. It doesn't necessarily have to be right on the beat. It should just really be as human as you can make it, because then other humans can connect with that. And then on top of that, the chords that you choose should generally be emotional sounding, and you can achieve that by choosing a minor tonality of some sort. And then the third piece would be inserting fills into your chord progression after you've chosen the chords. So that's it, guys. Those are the tips that I have for you to be more emotional in your guitar playing. Having the free motion in your rhythm, not being confined to a very specific beat is the first step, and then choosing chords that will effectively convey the sound that you hear in your head that you're trying to tell. If you're telling a story with your music, what would it sound like? And what would you want other people to feel? And it's important when you're writing music, this is just an overall tip. When you're writing music, write music for you. Don't try and think of what other people will feel like when they hear your music. 9 times out of 10, if you are writing music and it sounds good to you, then that authenticity will be relayed to the listener, and they will most likely feel just about as good as you feel about the music, if not better. So I think that's an important point to close this video with, is make music for yourself. Don't think about anybody else. And after that, you can go back and kind of tinker around with whatever you've created. But especially with this style of guitar playing, it's important to kind of tap in to your inner musician and let it all hang out, so to speak. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I hope I didn't cause you to well up too much, or hopefully I did. If I didn't, then maybe this lesson sucked. So I hope you enjoyed. I had fun making it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next time.